Hello and welcome to WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Joey Chester, assignment editor here at the Western Journal, and thank you so much for tuning in. We have a really fun episode planned for you today. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Super Bowl yesterday. I know next to nothing about sports.
Just sharing that free
Yes, I will freely admit it, but thankfully I have brought some great sports experts here with me. I've got Caleb and Grant. They will deal with those parts of it, things that I don't understand whatsoever. But there are some things that are worth commenting on, even though I know next to nothing about sports. That is the political and cultural aspects of sports I think are really important to talk about. So yesterday, both of you watched the Super Bowl, right?
Half of
Yes.
it together, yes.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome. So I'm sure you saw the numerous maskless celebrities and politicians at the Super Bowl. You know, we've been told that masks save lives. It's so important. I think LA still has a mask mandate, and kids in California are still being forced to wear masks in schools. Yet you look at the game and every single celebrity except for, was it like Kanye West and who else?
I found two, Joe.
Yeah.
It was Leo and Prince Harry.
Oh, it's Prince Harry. Oh,
that's it.
Prince Harry, who I have labeled as the beta male. So it's no wonder that he was wearing a mask. But
And he's also not even like from the United
No,
States.
he's not.
I mean, he lives
Yeah.
here now, but
yeah, he's not American. Why is he at the Super Bowl? Come on, man. Don't even show up. But it is pretty shocking. So, like, I'm just going to declare COVID is over because no celebrities or politicians are wearing masks. COVID is over. The LA mayor was there, Garcetti, not wearing a mask. Was it 2 weeks ago that he said he was not wearing a mask in a picture because he was holding his breath?
I believe that was
Yes.
at the NFC Championship.
Which
game.
means he managed to hold his breath the entire Super Bowl.
While
That is
talking, he was carrying
Yes.
on a conversation too, so that's pretty impressive.
I'm pretty sure we should call up. What's the world record company? Is it the
Oh,
is it
Guinness
the
World
Guinness
Record,
World
yeah.
Records? Yes, we should call them up and give Garcetti an award for holding his breath for the longest of any human being in the world. But
Just to jump in real quick,
yeah,
Joey.
please do.
I think I just want to kind of fixate on Garcetti a little bit.
Yeah,
because like we've talked about 2 weeks ago, all the pictures came out. There was a massive blowback to everything he had done. So don't you think the practical thing would have been to not go? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he had somebody on his staff that's like, look, you just unleashed this like hurricane of bad press for us with this mask stunt you did with Magic Johnson, then making it worse with the doubling down, holding my breath comment. So it just seems like the natural thing to do to not go to avoid basically just creating another firestorm of controversy. And what does he do? He goes and he like basically masks less. It's almost like he's just double barreling everybody. And he's like, well, your kids have to just breathe through the masks all day. And there's a requirement in the stadium for me to wear this. But you know what? I got caught 2 weeks ago. I still don't care. And they're just going to do what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear from this game that we are ruled by an elite class who thinks that they are better than us.
Yeah.
We have to obey the rules. They don't have to. And it's funny because I think everyone would like these people a lot more if they just came out and said, hey, COVID's really not that big of a deal anymore. Don't wear your mask. Go on. Live your life as normal. They would get so much more respect than just having this massive double standard that they have. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand why they can't just come out and say, you know what? Like, we're not that worried about the virus anymore. Like, we're going to rescind this mask mandate. Like, that's what we want. We're not sitting here saying that they should be wearing masks, that everyone at the stadium should be masking up. That would be stupid. Like, it was great to see people not wearing masks at the Super Bowl. The crowd having fun, Matt Stafford's wife, whoever, not wearing a mask. That's great. What's not great is like the people who aren't wearing a mask and then they're also telling you that you have to wear a mask.
Yeah, that's such a good point because I don't think any of us here want to say to them, well, no, mask up. You need to mask up. I think it's great that they're not wearing masks. Good. Show the world that we're getting back to normal, but let other people do the same.
It's the
That's the
compartmentalization
issue.
of their
That's the
politics
issue.
and their
Yeah.
lifestyle. They're like, this is what I advocate for, but somehow I can basically just disentangle myself from actually living out what I advocate.
Yes.
So that's the thing that we're trying to raise attention to here. We just want consistency. And they have not been consistent on this issue for more or less 2 years. And now it just seems like there's this open revolt where they're like, I know what I said and I tweeted and what my agent put out.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think I'd just rather party in Magic Johnson's suite and drink champagne and look down on all the peasants.
Yeah.
There's some clips I saw from the Super Bowl of the halftime show, which made me really glad I didn't actually watch the Super Bowl. To be quite honest, I find rap music to be mindless dribble that has absolutely no meaning.
Respectfully disagree, but totally cool.
That's fine. And one of the lovely social justice warriors there was Eminem, who this dude wants to be a social justice warrior, but has a very troubled past. Grant, I mean, come on. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been embroiled in so many scandals of him suggesting that he wants to do lewd things to women. He has some of his songs from his earlier career are pretty graphic. He talks about things that
understatement.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad.
Yes.
Some of his old stuff, if you go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
And so he was singing. He was part of this halftime show that was all people who were relevant 20 years ago, I guess, which is fine. I mean, it was a fine halftime show. It wasn't the best. I don't think it was the worst. It was just kind of confusing to me. And one of the more confusing parts is Eminem was doing his solo set, singing his couple of songs that he had. And then after he ends his solo set, he takes a knee for probably a good 30 seconds or so.
Classic.
And while he's taking a knee, Dr. Dre goes over to the piano and he starts playing this tribute to Tupac. And then I guess Eminem gets back up and they have their grand finale thing or whatever. And it's very weird because it came out afterwards that there were rumors he had told the NFL he was going to do a kneeling thing and they asked him not to, and he did it anyway. Those are unsubstantiated. That the NFL is not confirmed. We told him not to do it and he didn't do this. He didn't listen to us, whatever. It's all kind of hearsay. But people are trying to make it into this huge political statement. And I've got to say, if it was a political statement from Eminem, I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like it was the worst political statement ever because I had no idea. Yeah. You weren't watching, but I had no idea what was going on. I didn't, when that happened, I didn't think oh wow, he is really taking a stand for Colin Kaepernick. I was like, is he sad that Tupac died? Is he tired?
In the moment, I thought he was emotionally overwhelmed. I thought he was I got 115 million people watching me. I'm kind of in my feels right now. The fact that, like you said, it had nothing to do even remotely with how Kaepernick, conducted his protest, making it about the flag or the anthem. It was just this random kneeling in the middle of his set. I think it totally missed what he was trying to achieve, and pretty much he just bamboozled the audience. He didn't sway anybody's mind.
I think someone made the point in the office earlier, maybe it was you, Celebs. I think some people thought maybe it was just the end of his number, that was how he was ending his routine.
He's just getting in a fetal position.
Yeah.
From the free world.
Yeah, it's just weird. And does he think that taking a knee for 30 seconds is just going to excuse all of his troubled
all of
past?
the things that he's done wrong in the past, and that to my knowledge, he hasn't apologized for those things. I don't think, or he's definitely not rescinded his music that says terrible things about women. And I'm sure there are a lot of rappers who say bad things about women in their songs, and that's he's not alone in that. But if you're going to have a person who's not an upstanding moral character, I don't think they have a lot of ground to stand on when it comes to trying to argue for justice.
This is something I've questioned, have had questions about. I think I saw reports. Actually, I think there were pictures of Snoop Dogg smoking weed before his performance. And
at the venue?
At the venue.
Man.
And it is legal in California, but there's also
I think it's legal at the venue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's right to do anyways, but, that's a whole nother discussion. Well, actually, it is going to be part of this discussion. And then you have Eminem with his troubled past. I don't know what some of the other performers are things that they've said or things they've said in songs.
Dre has a long history of legal nightmares himself.
Yeah, so, you have what I would call degenerate type people who have contributed to the destruction of culture. Is it good for these people to be selected as halftime show artists? I mean, really, as a culture, we see how destroyed culture has become. And so, it really concerns me when we have people like this as a halftime show. And I get the whole idea, it's a really fun throwback to 20, 30 years ago to have these artists perform. But I think there is a legit cultural question, okay, these are maybe some problematic people. Should we have them front and center like this? I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're making a great point, which is the Super Bowl halftime show means something in the world of entertainment. This is not some podunk concert that they're giving in somebody's basement. Mm-hmm. You could argue a Super Bowl halftime show is one of the boxes you feel like you have to check on that road to being a legendary artist.
Right.
Most everybody's taken a turn. So platforming people that have got very questionable morals and have had, I would say, difficulty living out the things that they advocate for, I think does signal to culture more broadly that it's like, this is what we value, which is basically making money and obscenity and creativity at all costs. And I think, there are certain elements of what those people have done that's commendable. I think when we're putting them in that lofty position, there's got to be a lot of questions about what's the subliminal message we're sending. And I think the message that we were sending is, don't look at what these people do, look at what they say, which is pretty much the company line from the left and the Democrats.
Good. Yeah. Grant, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a trend that has gone on for a while now.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, The Weeknd did the halftime show, which I actually thought was a great halftime show, but he has faced criticisms for some of his music in the past where he talks about arguably abusing women, graphic things that, shouldn't really be talked about in music, shouldn't be being played on the radio. It's kind of disgusting that we have to listen to that kind of thing. So it's not unique to this Super Bowl, I wouldn't say.
No, not at all.
It's a phenomenon that's been going on for a while. I think that we should go back to just having like old people do the halftime show, like the Rolling Stones or like the Who.
Springsteen.
What about Katy Perry and the Dancing Sharks? You didn't like the Dancing Sharks?
I mean, it was when the biggest controversy was like the left shark. That was better than when the biggest controversy is like, did this person like rape someone or something? I mean, I would rather it be about the left shark.
Right, or doing like a kneel protest in the middle of the most widely watched television event of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny when like these artists have rapped and sung about things that are opposite of what they preach about and try to be, leaders of movements for. It just is baffling to me. It's always funny too with the left, because the left, they claim to be these big LGBTQ activists, but I'm pretty sure Eminem has made some very troubling comments.
Oh yes.
So it's just mind blowing to me. But there is one thing that I think is important to highlight. Even with this, there's some good news at the end of it. There was a moment, I think, Caleb, you watched it. This was after the Super Bowl was over. The MVP said something. He quoted a Bible verse, right?
Yeah, so a lot of what we've talked about is kind of the lowlights of the Super Bowl, which need to be mentioned. I mean, that stuff happened and bothered all of us. But what happened in the game is Cooper Kupp, who was the Super Bowl MVP, in a post-game press conference, kind of sat down, and it was just it was such a fantastic moment. Like, he's got his kid on his lap. He's just kind of sitting there talking, and he's like, in 2019 when we went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots and got walloped, he's like, I was walking off the field, and God gave me this vision that one day we were going to be right back in this stadium. And not only that, he said that God told him he was even going to win Super Bowl MVP.
It's crazy.
So he goes out there, balls out. This guy played phenomenal. Like, it's very rare that a non-quarterback wins the Super Bowl MVP, and this guy was like 100% deserving. So he's out there sharing the message. All the reporters in the room are like kind of taken aback by it. And then he goes out and he says 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 25, which, shall I read it? Is that necessary?
I think so.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it for a crown that will last forever. So Kupp literally embodied this kind of like message that he's sharing out to the world. And it's not like these are empty words, because he already backed it up with his play and the kind of teammate he's been. So when somebody at the pinnacle of their career, arguably having the best day of their life, takes the spotlight completely off them and redirects it onto Christ, how can you not look at something like that and be like, this is commendable, and this is something that's so rare in our society today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cooper Kupp, like you said, he had one of the best seasons in the history of the NFL for a receiver. He broke records. He won all 3 major receiving categories. This is a guy who it would be really easy for him to say, I'm the best. I led the team here. I mean, he caught, 2 touchdowns yesterday. It'd be very easy for him to say, this was all me. I'm so glad that I finally led my team to a victory. We got a Super Bowl. This is great. But that's not what he said. He said, I'm playing because God gave me these gifts. I don't have the specific quotes here, but he said something to the effect of, I'm not playing to try to earn something. I'm playing to honor God and the gifts that he's given me. And it's just, I don't know. I thought it was super powerful, especially in that moment. I feel like you see athletes say that kind of thing, and not mean it.
Well, we'll just pay lip service. They'll be like, thank God. And we appreciate it when they say that. But Cooper had more that he wanted to verbalize.
He clearly actually had thought about it and meant it, and he is playing for the Lord. I don't think he's just making this up or just saying thank the Lord because it's the right thing to do. I think this is actually his conviction, and you could tell that he was passionate about it.
Yeah, I think it's incredible and something that doesn't happen enough in sports. I think all of us are so used to the cultural Marxism that we see from athletes, people like Kaepernick taking a kneel during the anthem. And, the NFL, wasn't the Black national anthem played before the game?
Yeah, I've seen reports of that.
Yeah, and
they never show it on TV. It's very interesting because they talk about how they want to play the Black national anthem, but then you never actually see it.
But then it's like, if you're going to play the Black national anthem, well, then are you going to play the Asian national anthem or the
Polish national anthem?
I mean, there's so many different cultures in America. Are you going to play the national anthem is the anthem of everyone in the United States, no matter
that's what I was going to say. It's kind of a misnomer, anyways.
It is the most it's the most unifying song that exists in the country. So some people have criticized, and I don't agree with this, that. They'll say, well, the right has a problem with BLM messages during sports, social justice messages, but they don't have a problem when there's a Christian message like this at the end of a game. And personally, I think they're two very different things. I do think that athletes should stay away from social justice, BLM messages during games, because I think that those issues are really non-issues. They aren't what these people make them out to be. But as Christians, we should share every time we can our faith with others. And so I think it's important that athletes do that more often. I mean, where do you guys think the line is? Is there a line somewhere where the athletes shouldn't cross with political messages or Christian messages? What do you think? Caleb, will start with you.
This is such a complicated topic, man.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to kind of hear where we align and where we diverge on this. I think, for me, I have a comfort level with somebody using their platform to speak out if I feel like, do they actually live out the message that they're espousing? I think there's a lot of people out there, frankly, that claim to be Christians or claim that they believe in God.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look at how they live their lives. And this isn't acting like I'm pure and everything's perfect for me.
Sure.
I make mistakes all the time. But I think there is a bit of your actions need to match up with what you say. So when you have a guy like LeBron who goes out there and he's like, Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist and says all this crazy stuff, the only thing LeBron cares about is being better than Michael Jordan in everybody's perception. So what's his end goal? It's himself. It's raising his own profile and making himself bigger. And I think when you think about what Cooper Kupp did, Cooper Kupp was making himself smaller by pointing everything back towards God and being like, I'm the tool. You need to understand where this is all coming from. So I think when we're talking about these messages, does the actions match up with what the person says? And are they basically just doing this to make themselves benefit themselves in some way? Or are they actually sacrificing themselves for the betterment of somebody else?
I agree with that. I think to me, I think Caleb might disagree with me on this take a little bit. I think to me, a Christian message is totally fine. I think that's different from a political message. I think that's saying, the Lord gave me this ability and I'm going to use it to honor him. I think that's totally fine. Honestly, I wouldn't support it religiously, but if there was somebody who was Muslim and they went out there and they said it was their religion, I wouldn't agree, but I agree with that person's right to say that. I think the issue comes in when it comes to politics, and it's not so much that these people shouldn't be allowed to talk about politics. I don't think you can say, well, athletes should never be allowed to talk about politics. They have to just stay away from it because they have free speech too, and they can talk about what they want to talk about. I think the issue is that for some reason, so many Americans give them more credibility. Like, why is it that what LeBron James says about politics or what, I don't know, some activist NFL player, Colin Kaepernick, I can't think of anyone who's in the league right now. I'm sure there's plenty, but
yeah, most of them have flamed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocker.
Some activist who's playing football and getting paid millions of dollars and then saying, I think that racism is inherent in America, or saying that we should abolish the police or whatever. It's like, you are not an expert on this topic. Just because you play football, just because you play basketball, whatever, doesn't make you any more qualified to talk about this than anyone else. If you want to go engage in a discussion with someone, that's great. If you want to go say, like, I'm famous and this is what I think and everyone should agree with me, I think that's where the issue comes in. And the part that I think Caleb would maybe disagree with me on, I think, to me, just my personal preference, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be allowed to talk about politics, but if it were up to me, I would like there to be no straight politics in sports, like supporting a candidate, like the WNBA when they came out against Kelly Loeffler, all this stuff.
All the Warnock, all the Warnock stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would like there to be no political campaigning in sports. I don't want to see people campaigning for Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, and I don't want to see people campaigning for Joe Biden or Raphael Warnock or whoever. I would like that to not be a part of sports at all. That's just not the reality, and it's never going to be that way, and that's why we cover things when they happen and politics and sports kind of intersect. But if it were up to me in an ideal world, I would like there to be no political campaigning at all.
How do you feel about it, Joey?
I think you both make very good points. I think there's something that maybe athletes and a lot of Americans probably don't understand. The U.S. was created, our Constitution and our culture was created, and I think can only survive from a Christian point of view. Our Constitution, our country will be destroyed unless it centers around Christian values. And so, like if I had it my way, there would be prayer before every sports game because I think that's really important. The reason you were given the talents that you have are because of God. And also the reason this country exists is because our founders founded the country on fundamental Christian beliefs that come right out of the Bible. And so I think it's completely okay to have those beliefs and values in sports because I think that there needs to be more Christianity, more Christian values in our culture because we have fundamentally lost that. But I'm with you 100%. I don't think any politics should be talked about in sports. I'm not a big sports watcher, but from everyone I've talked to, when you turn on the TV to watch football or baseball or basketball, you're turning it on to watch the game. You're not turning it on to hear a political message, right? All of us are inundated on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram with politics all day long, even from our friends and family. So when you sit down to watch something like a game, you don't really want politics involved with it. And so I think if we just didn't allow that, now I'll go with what Grant said. That doesn't mean that athletes don't have free speech. It's just that, hey, during this time, avoid it. If 20 minutes after the game, you want to go out on Twitter and tweet your social justice message, fine. But with that, at least people can choose to see that or not. I think we've lost a lot of things that can unify Americans, places that we can come together as just Americans, not divided between Republican and Democrat or race. And I do think that sports is one of those things. So I think it would be great if athletes stay out of politics. Will they do that? I doubt it.
No.
Because I don't think they can get over themselves and they feel that the place that they're, and it's always baffling to me because these people are incredibly lucky to be where they are, and they're very wealthy. They are not struggling. So it drives me crazy when they act like America is this racist, awful country when it's really not. So
I think there's one other thing to consider though in this whole thing.
What's that?
Where I think because of kind of just the march of progressivism and the way everything seems like it's become political, it's only really been in the last couple of years where there's this expectation that the athletes are going to comment.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
So I think back in the day, there was this kind of acknowledgement that it's like, you know what that guy does? He catches footballs and runs into the end zone. Yeah. He's not talking about Nord Stream 2 and like Ukraine politics and like how many people came over the border last month.
Yes.
And you know what? We were all fine with that.
Yes.
Because we were like, you know what? You catch passes. We enjoy watching you do it. That's really all that we have as an expectation for you. I don't expect my server to show up with my dinner and be like, hey, man, let me give you the Supreme Court pick that's coming down.
Exactly.
So I think that's a huge thing, a mistake that basically the whole athletic community has made, which is they all feel like they have to comment. I think 99.9% shouldn't comment.
Yes.
because they don't know what they're talking about most of the time. But I think some of that they get tricked because they have some agent in their ear that's telling them, well, you better stand up for BLM or whatever. And I think for the most part, if they just were aloof because they don't have the expertise, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable to not expect all of our athletes to be Martin Luther King.
And I think you get into a larger issue there is where politics has bled into literally every institution in the country. I mean, teachers basically have become mouthpieces for left-wing propaganda. Versus they could just teach in school, teach U.S. history, teach the Constitution. Instead, it's left-wing propaganda. We see it everywhere in the country. It's a big problem. I'm glad I didn't watch. Sounded like a good game.
He doesn't like eating junk food,
Yes,
and
I
hanging with
do
your
wish I
homies.
would have eaten junk food, but I'm glad that there was this Christian message at the end. I'm disappointed in the celebrity masking, but it's not surprising. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This was a really fun episode, some good discussion about culture and politics and sports and how all of those things intersect. We will be back here on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Is it Pacific? Yeah, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
I can never get time zones
That's
right.
right.
Middle chair, Joey. I trust you.
I never know what time zone Arizona's on. It's very
it's about to
strange.
change
Yes,
again.
it's about to
It's
change
gonna
again.
get worse.
It's too confusing. We will be here at some time. Just watch for the notification. If you are on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are on Rumble, also subscribe. If you would like to support what we do here, we are constantly attacked by big tech. They would love nothing more than to see the Western Journal shut down. We are a family-owned company. We are the largest Christian conservative media company in the United States. So if you want to support us further, you can go to westernjournal.com/join, and you can support us further if you feel compelled to do so. There's no pressure. You do not have to, but we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.